Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, if you're a veteran, you're going to want to listen to this episode. If you're like me and have struggled with PTSD, a traumatic brain injury, depression, anxiety, this show is the one for you. Make sure you hang out. And if you stay till the end, we're going to give you 3 things you can do today to help with your mental health. I want to give a big shout out to Celsius Energy. Thank you for keeping me energized all day long. And I also want to thank Veterans Supporting Veterans Facebook group, 11,000 veterans trying just to help keep one another alive. We got my brother, the Panda, coming in from Wgy6, Wgy6. We're going to be talking all things veteran mental health. My brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It took us a while to get here, but glad we got here.
I love it. So my first question right out of the gate, what is your definition of resiliency?
You know, resiliency is a really hard thing to sit and look at, but here's my definition of it. It's not quitting in the face of adversity. It's being able to not only face but overcome the obstacles presented before you. And that's kind of how I got here. Um, when I got out in 2011, I struggled because the military was the first place I ever felt like home because I didn't come from a great background. Like I have divorced parents, I was in low income housing, like it was a struggle. So entering into the Marine Corps was the first place I ever felt like I had real family. And then it was over. So I struggled to come back to the civilian side because there really wasn't courses to teach you how to be a civilian again. I mean, I left an 18-year-old kid. Like that's all I knew. I mean, I'd had teenager jobs, but I didn't know how to apply skill sets or write resumes correctly or how to use the VA program. So I got out and I did the same coping tool we all did because we were taught active duty, drink. And so I was using that. I was going down bad rabbit holes. I was living out of my truck. And I got to the point where I almost joined the 22. And I had 5 failed shotgun rounds in a row. I don't know about you, but I took that as a giant universal sign I'm supposed to be here. So I went, I got myself cleaned up, I moved states, I got a new job, and I started reaching out to people like me. Eventually, I built a team, and that team helps daily with people that are like us. And resiliency to me is not just being able to take those hits and breathe and woo-saw and go forward, but it's taking that breathe and woo-saw and all the tools you've learned, teach the next guy. Resilience is a legacy that doesn't matter to your name. I want this to continue whether I'm here or not. That's resilience to me.
Okay, so let's go back. Because I love to hear everybody's recruiting story, and then tell us what it was. Give us a little bit down and dirty what your recruiting story was, and what was it like first going into the Marine Corps.
Okay. Oh, this is a good one. So, people are going to get a great laugh out of this one. I had never heard anything about a lot of the military when I first got brought to a recruiting office. I was brought to a pool program by my friend David from in high school. And I thought a pool program was like an actual pool. So I had a swimsuit and a beach towel and a backpack. Um, Not even kidding. When I showed up at the recruiter station the first time, and he's like, "What is this?" And I go, "It's for the pool function." And he goes, "No, you're gonna be running and learning things about the Marine Corps." And like, so I went through it and I didn't think too much of it. And I started talking. I talked to Army recruiters. The thing I laughed the hardest about was Air Force and Coast Guard were never in their office ever for me to sit and have that conversation with them. But I went in the Army recruiting office one time. I had 44 phone calls in less than a month from them. I did not get a single one from the Marine Corps recruiter. And I walked back into that office and I was like, everybody else is calling me. Why aren't you? And he goes, because I don't need you. You need me. And I was sold. I left 2 months later.
Well, I got to say one thing is I love my Marines. I love the Marine mentality. Once a Marine, always a Marine. I also believe you guys have the best dress uniform of all time,
Oh,
hands.
that metal piece right here in your throat, just awful long term. But no,
So, what was it
there.
like?
Go on.
What was it like going through boot camp?
Definitely was a culture shock. So I grew up in like northern Minnesota, Iowa, Indiana. So I stuck to the Midwest a lot. So going out to California in July probably wasn't my best idea. It was so ungodly hot out there by comparison and humid. But it was just seeing the culture shock of like the different states and everybody coming together and finding out that I had one guy that came from Jamaica and enlisted in the US military to get his citizenship. I didn't even know that was a possibility. And so you get this huge clash of cultures that all comes together that, your first 3 days, you're kept awake, you're constantly moving, you're getting shots, you're getting uniforms, you're getting pushed to your very limits. And then you're finally allowed to sleep. And as you're going through it, you're being taught precision, you're being taught drill, you're being taught rifle training, you're being taught how to fire your weapon, how to do movements and what it's like. And one of the better things that I think the Marine Corps does is they take historic moments from the Marine Corps, like different battles, and that's how they train you. So one of the ones that I will never forget is an ammo carry, and it was supposed to represent a battle of Iwo Jima, where they had to run up huge hills with these ammo cans to constantly restock these guns that are firing down the other side. So you're running with 45-pound ammo cans up and downhill, train like you play. And that's one really big thing. Like the Marine Corps does not sugarcoat a lot of it. I couldn't speak on any of the other services, but I know from day one you are being taught to fight. Day 3 you're being taught to not get hit. Because if you know it, and I stand by that training, because a lot of people go to boot camp never once getting tagged in the chin. And after a couple days of getting hit, you realize you aren't made of glass. So you realize taking that hit isn't so bad. But again, that's another thing that we're taught in the military, mask pain. That mask is something you get taught how to put on. And if you're hurt, no, you're not. If you're sad, no, you're not. If you're angry, no, you're not. You use that to push forward and finish the mission, right? Nobody got taught to take it off. I didn't. Did you?
No, but now when I went through, I was 17 years old. It sounds like when you went through, you were a young man too.
Oh, yeah.
So what was that like being probably one of the youngest men in the platoon?
I wasn't just the youngest man, I was the smallest. So I got completely targeted by my senior kill hat and one of my junior drill instructors. They're like, "Oh, you're coming into boot camp underweight," because I didn't have enough weight on me. They're like, "We're going to make it our personal goal to make you the most physically fit person leaving this boot camp." I went to boot camp at 120 pounds. I graduated boot camp at 155 pounds.
Damn, they must
I
have
went
fed
from
you. They must have
I
fed you like a horse.
I went from a 28-inch chest because of how much IT and pull-ups and constant training they did to me. I went from a 28-inch chest. I had to get my blues refit 3 times. I left boot camp with a 37-inch chest after 3 months of training. It was the most insane I have ever been pushed in my life. Every day I got pushed to the breaking point of vomiting all over the IT deck. And then I had to clean it up because, I messed up their IT deck. And then they had me do it again because it was too clean. That's just, the Marine Corps is a giant fraternity and you will never change my mind on it, but it's why we're so close to one another. Like just
Now,
today, I went in the dollar store today and I was talking with, I saw one guy with an EGA on his belt buckle and I was like, "Oh, where were you stationed?" I heard 4 more guys bark off behind me. "Well, I was stationed here," or "I'm sorry you got put on that base." And like that, I don't know if that's a mentality with everything else, but that's definitely a Marine Corps mentality.
Now, did you get deployed with your unit?
So I got attached to Wgy6, and we're not going to dig into that too much, but um, there are a lot of things that I saw that were much worse. And one of them, I was in the fleet less than a month before I had my first 22. And it was one of the people in my fire team. We were living together out in town. And I came home because he didn't come out. So they sent me to go get him because, it's not like your NCOs are stupid and think, oh, you're actually staying in the barracks. They know.
Yeah.
And they're like, we haven't seen him. Well, I got there before his wife did, thankfully, and found him in the closet being hung by a dog leash. So definitely really opened my eyes to how quick command tried to bury things. And because of that, after I got reattached back to my unit after leaving Wgy6 to go back to 2nd Maintenance Battalion, I got put in the FRO billet. Do you know what that is? I don't know if it's applicable
No.
across the Family Readiness Officer.
Okay.
And what they ended, it's one of those billets you kind of send people to get rid of them because they make waves. Like one of my biggest things is I went after a staff NCO for conduct unbecoming for harassing a junior Marine that just got out of level 4. They just got back from psych for the 22. That happened in the unit less than a week ago. And that staff NCO was already up this person's butt and screaming at them. And it wasn't acceptable to me. So I got in trouble for that. I got sent out to a billet. But unfortunately for them, I was really good with computers. So we worked on a program called the Mass Communication Databasing Tool. And what it did is it made a giant social network of all the spouses, the veterans, the active duty, and the IRRs that got attached. They got newsletters about what the company was doing, newsletters about the deployment, events that were happening to try and get the spouses to communicate with one another to try and build support networks because I got really good at doing that. So the person that planned your battalion Christmas parties or your Army balls, your Navy balls, things like that, that's what they put me into. And that really started to develop inside me. Hey, I don't have these coping tools. I don't have a support network like this. And I noticed people getting out, like, they just fall off the face of the earth. They stop talking to a lot of us. And I never really understood why until I got out. And it's like, as soon as you cross that gate for the last time, it's like a wall comes down.
Yeah.
And I get it because, mentally you're trying to protect yourself because, like, hey, this is my friend, but they're gone now. Like, I can't go see them every day. They're going somewhere off in the world. I can call them, but it's not the same. You can't beat on that barracks door next door with a 6-pack and go, hey, I'm not doing so hot, and sit with somebody or play video games or watch a movie. Like,
even just going to the PX and buying a bunch of junk food.
right. You had that social support network.
Yeah.
And realizing that made me understand that, hey, maybe this is the reason why we're losing so many of our friends. So I developed Wgy6, and our reach outs and how we work is very different from a lot of the different organizations I've seen over the years. One of the biggest things is follow-ups. Like, if you reached out to me and said you wanted to join the 22, right? There are 4 ways this can go. 1, I'm going to reach out to you. If I say a post that you're like, hey, I want to join the 22, I'm struggling. Hey, what's going on? And most of the time, you'll either get a message back that say, hey, I'm doing fine. I'm just struggling right now. Well, brother, if you're posting like that, or sister, if you're posting like that, you aren't doing fine. If these are the thoughts in your head, you're not doing great today. And it's okay. I'm not doing great every day.
Yeah.
I get it. And that's another very prominent thing with us. We will never put an operator to sit and talk to people that are suicidal, ever, that has not been suicidal. It's very hard if you've never felt that peace of knowing I'm ready to go and I'm putting it in my own hands. You don't know how to fight that if you've never been there.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's like what we were talking about earlier. Like my biggest grievance with 988, like the VA flat out said to our own government that 10.5 times you were 10.5 times more likely the last 2 years if you called the 988 number to take yourself out. And you can have good intentions. You can have the best trainings out there, but if you've never experienced, it's really hard to sit and talk about mental health issues. You wouldn't sit there as somebody without schizophrenia and go, well, this is what you deal with as a schizophrenic. Right?
Yeah.
Just like I wouldn't sit there and go, I will tell you the best dress to buy for a wedding ever. Because let's face it, I'm not equipped to talk about wedding dresses. I'm not equipped to speak on Air Force life. I'm not equipped to speak on Army life. But that's the best part about what we built. We have somebody from all walks of life. If you're going through a divorce, we have ops that have been through divorce. Easy, bad, and ugly. You're going through custody disputes? Great. You know, obviously not great, but we have different ops that have been through different sides of it. And can help you with where you're struggling on that. And there is some even darker walks of life. Like, I can honestly say creating this is why I'm still alive. Because I lost children. And to anyone out there who has lost a child, I am so sorry you know that pain. I am so sorry you had to go through that. I am so sorry of how alone you felt in it.
Now, I'm actually writing an article tomorrow on dealing with grief and how we can deal with grief. So that article will be out tomorrow. But I want to ask you, let's get back a little bit before we start talking about what you're doing now is, why did you get out? If you said you loved the Marine so much, why did you get out?
So I love the Marine Corps with everything in my entirety, but I unfortunately was in during the Obama era when they decided to cut down troop numbers.
Okay. Yep.
And because I was labeled non-deployable, because psych, I got sent home. I got told I was non-reenlistable because I went and saw psych. I went and saw psych because one of my Marines blew his brains out in front of me, and I got listed non-deployable, mentally unstable, and got an R-4. So because of that, they go, oh, okay, go home. Here's your papers.
And the reason why I wanted to ask that question is because, like Sergeant Nick said, one of my friends, Sergeant Nick, was on the show. He says, when you step off base, the military doesn't give a shit about you.
Oh, absolutely.
Your phone stops ringing. You don't have a mission. And a lot of times you don't have any money. So at the end of the day, you're looking at the bottom of a bottle or at the end of a barrel. Yeah. So what was your transitioning out of the military like?
So I got out of the military. I drove from North Carolina back to the middle of nowhere in Iowa, 17.5 hours of driving. As I was driving, I got exactly 3 phone calls from people that served with me. That was really about it till I got home. And like the entire ride home, it was just quiet. I had my seat bags in the back seat, my issued gear, a TV, and an Xbox. And like, to me, that was years of my life. That's all I had.
Yeah, I get that. I could so feel that. I could feel that being in the truck and just looking over, and all you have is your bags and your Xbox.
Right, I had a bags, Xbox, a TV, and a vacuum cleaner. That's all I owned from 18 from 18 to my early 20s. That's all I owned.
Yeah, I get it.
And like I'm literally driving with everything I own able to fit in the cab of a truck. Everything. And I get out, and I spent the first couple days trying to detransition. Like, I'd still get up at 04. I'd still go run. I'd still do pull-ups. I'd still train. And one of the funniest stories of my life came out of it. I started bartending. It was one of the first jobs I did because I couldn't sleep at night. And so I figured, why not get a job that keeps me up till 3 o'clock in the morning? I don't sleep anyways. So I'd get off work and I'd go train. Well, I'm pretty decently tattooed. I was in great shape, and I reappeared in an area after years of being gone for a while, because I never took leave, I never came home. So the joke that really got me is a kid came up to me in the park while I'm doing pull-ups on the pull-up bar at 7:30 in the morning, and I will never not laugh at a little kid looking up to me and going, "My dad said you just got out of prison. Is that true?" I looked straight at that kid and I said, "You should tell your dad it's not smart to mind his own. It's not smart to interfere with people that may or may not have just got out of jail." And I just looked at him and I waved, and as soon as the kid turned around, I just went. And that was the last interaction I had with most people in that city. And I realized that civilians really don't have our sense of dark humor.
Yeah.
And that was like a really messed up coping tool we had. And they really, really don't find it funny. And that spread like wildfire in a small town that I had just gotten out of prison.
So then, we could talk about, because I'm sober 36 years, and I know you're on the same train I am, that we just don't drink, and that's something we just don't do.
Yeah, and it's like I told you, it's like everyone looks at you like you have a third head when you say you don't drink. Or my personal favorite are the ones that like sit and hold their drink back like this, like you're just gonna grab it and chug it.
Yeah.
Like you are a toddler with no impulse control. Which, granted, there probably are some people out there that have that little impulse control with things like alcohol or drugs. I mean, unfortunately, it's a thing in the mental health community. But it's one of those, if I put myself in a position where I'm around it, I'm okay. But it hurt. Like, I don't know about you. Does it hurt more to you when people try and hide it, or?
It doesn't bother me. I mean, like, if in my house, if I look to my left, I have a refrigerator. It's got beer in it. It's got wine in it. It's got coolers. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me. I'll actually serve you.
Yeah, right. And I'll do the same for my spouse. Like she'll have a beer or two. I don't care.
It doesn't bother me. I just don't drink, because I know, for me, the bottom line is, I drink, I die. That's it. There's nothing else. That's my realism. I drink, I die. Next.
Same for me. Like it's one of those, like, the last time I drank alcohol, it was a massive realization slap in the face to me. It was New Year's, and I had a friend that was a hardened alcoholic. Like, I knew he picked up a 24 case of beer daily. And he's like, "Why don't you come have a drink with me?" We finished a 1-gallon bottle of whiskey between the two of us, and we're still standing. And that was my wake-up call. And it's one of those, like, that is not a normal person thing. That is not a great coping tool. And it was one of those, by the time I was done drinking, like, the hardened alcoholic, had to crawl on his hands and knees the 2 blocks back to his house. And I was still able to walk around and speak.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
I was not in a great place, and I realized it was a really terrible coping tool. So I started to develop more and work on things. Like, when I would get stressed out and angry, I had to find new ways of dealing with that, because anger is one of the anger and sorrow are the 2 easiest things for us to grab as people. Which is, have you ever been taught formally what PTSD is?
Like, formally, yes, but most people never lived it. The people that tell you what it is, so I mostly deal with it from the reality perspective.
So, like, the reality of it is, like, this is what I teach. They are incredibly violent memories that have easy to grab emotions, like anger, terror, fear, sadness. All easy, top of the things, right? That's why you can't put them away, because they're so easy to grab. It is a memory that can't go into long-term storage. So this is why our programs work beyond everything else. You're going to come in, you're going to sit in these chats, and this is what happens to like 90% of people. We put you in, you're a new fish in the tank, and you have all of these things going on around you. Just like when you get to the fleet, right? Most people, when they get to the fleet, try and stick to themselves to be able to see things. But there are always going to be those people that grab you and go, "No, we're going to go do this. We're going to get you used to this area. We're going to show you where the chow hall is. We're going to show you where we hang out on the weekends. We make you feel included."
Yeah.
We don't let you go off by yourself. And after a while, you're going to start opening up, right? You're going to start talking about your experiences, and we'll talk about our experiences. We do the same thing with trauma. Like, I struggled with my kids passing. And there were so many more veterans that walked through the door that are like, hey, I'm here. I don't want to be alive anymore because I just lost my kid. Hey, I've been there, man. Picking out an urn for your child, making funeral arrangements for your child is not something I would wish on my greatest enemies. But these are programs that help. This is what I felt. This is what you may be feeling. And just actually talking about it. And what you find that, first couple of months, it's going to suck talking about these things. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
But after month 4, 5, or 6, the 10th, 12th person you've talked to about this and how you've dealt with these things, you are doing immersion therapy and reliving your traumas. But now you're looking at it from different perspectives of, hey, this is how I felt then, and this helps this other person. And now I understand both sides of it. And you start processing and putting them away. I can talk about the fact my kids have passed. I don't cry anymore. I don't get upset. It doesn't hurt me for days anymore. I feel a twinge of guilt. I feel a little bit, but I also know that I've processed that. And that's how we work with a lot of PTSD triggers and a lot of huge depression things, to the point eventually people don't need these chats anymore, and they go off on their way because they've developed, connections with local vet communities around them. They've developed into resources. They found their happiness. Like, we had one. I'm not going to name names, but they probably know who they are. Came in off a divorce, wanted not to live anymore, didn't really talk to their kids, isolated themselves, lost all of everything that made them them. In 6 months, we took them from just living in an apartment in a career that made them wildly depressed to, we pushed them to go to school, even though they felt they were too old for it. And then went through school, and now they're in a job that they absolutely love. And now they're making more money. So they move out of a bad community into a better community. And being in that better community with a better income, we can now go back to hobbies that make us happy because, we push you to go back and to do things that made you happy because you're getting out of that depressive funk. And then he went back to writing music. Well, now he's in a job he likes. He's back with something that makes him happy. He's being creative. What are we creating there? Serotonin and dopamine, baby. Everything that pushes us to be happy. 6 months. So I tell everybody that's wildly wanting to end everything, give me 72 hours. I'll change your life.
But don't you think that we have to be willing for me, like I said, I'm in recovery 36 years. Mm-hmm. I sponsor people, and I tell people, I can't help you unless you tell me you need help.
I will agree.
I can't do it. You know what I mean? I can't. If you don't want it bad enough, there's nothing I can do to help you get sober if you don't want to get sober bad enough.
I mean, it's true to a point. And I agree with it. You have to want to get sober to get sober. We can put you in a rehab, but if you don't want to get sober, you're just going to play the game until you get out of rehab.
Yeah.
That's the reality. But most people that are reaching out for mental health want help.
Yeah.
It's the ones that aren't reaching out, the ones that are struggling in the dark because we're told our entire career, suck it up. Here are some magical gems that I heard while I was active duty. You tell me if you heard them too. If you're going to die quietly. Tighten your boots, pick up your pack, keep moving.
Yep.
If you're having problems, no, you're not. If you're going to kill yourself, do it outside, save somebody the mess. If you're going to disappear to go kill yourself, leave your gear unlocked so we can turn it in for you. These are all things I heard from my command.
Yeah, and also the big one I hear is man up.
Yeah.
And I think the man up mentality is killing men every
55%.
single day.
55% of the daily suicides are men. 55%. 8,532 a day. Of that, the original number that we all were taught was 22 a day. That number's gone up. It is now 44. So what changed between 22 and 44? People stopped talking. That's the scary part, because we became part of a society where everyone wanted to cancel each other, or the instant gratification of social media, where If you have something negative about you, everybody schools on you like piranha on a carcass that fell in the water. That's how it feels to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Or, if you look at here's a big veteran disparagement. Look at what happened between World War I, World War II, and Vietnam with just Legion and the VFW, how they were treated. A lot of the Vietnam era vets that I talked to that tried to join Legions or VFWs were told they weren't part of a real war because it was never declared. So a lot of them didn't have that support network. So what did they do? They stayed home and they drank. You just suck it up and deal with it. World War I, World War II, you have these huge booms of revolution, lots of money coming back into the country, economic growth and prosperity, and you have all this. But again, people aren't talking about it because back then they used to put you in sanatoriums if you weren't right in the head or they just labeled you sick. Well, now we understand these things a lot deeper. If you look at the videos from people coming back from World War II and see, the shell shock, the severe PTSD and anxiety from just any stimuli that would have brought them back to those moments, and they were just labeled sick. Well, now we understand that those same people, given coping tools and medications, or even just coping tools and processing trauma, it can change a lot of their lives. I mean,
But what I'm also noticing, and let me know if I'm wrong. I'm an old guy. I'm an OG. I'm an old guy. I'm 56 years old. I got out 14 years ago. So, but the guys and girls that I see coming out now, they don't want to sit at the VFW and sit there and just drink.
Oh, yeah.
They want to join Irreverent Warriors. They want to go on hikes. They want to go fishing. They want to do all these things that are a little bit more beneficial for their mental health than just sitting at the VFW and getting banged up. Is that something that is just me seeing? Or is
Oh no, you've hit the nail on the head, which is why, we try and do the events like the Metal for Life event where it's a huge concert. Yes, it's at a bar, but there's food trucks, there's places to hang out. We have motorcycles in there, custom built cars, so you have things to go do rather than just put a drink in your hand. And I want that for people. I want to be able to have the most ridiculous events, but I want to go to the zoo. I want to go to the zoo with a bunch of veterans to be able to just unclench, if that makes any sense to you. Like, going out in public for me is huge for anxiety. And it's, it's the veteran mindset. And I don't know if I'm ever going to lose it or what, but we're hyper vigilant in large crowds looking for threats. At least I am. And I'm constantly sitting there going, these people are getting too close. This person's reaching for, in their I've been out since 2011 and I'm still doing these things. But it's not one of those, I am so focused on it, I can't see the world around me anymore. But it's still in the back.
I was talking to a leader of the VFW locally, and I was telling him, why don't we have an Xbox day? Why don't we have where the guys come in and play Halo?
Yeah.
Or the guys come in and play Madden. And they're just like, they don't want to hear it. But I'm like, some of the best times I remember on deployments were either watching a movie on a screen about that big.
Yeah.
And
with like 5 people around you.
And ordering pizzas and watching, ordering the Domino's pizza, or just playing Madden or playing video games, Halo for hours on hours on hours.
Like, the big thing for us was like getting in full battle gear and playing Call of Duty. Like, you had flax, plates, Kevlar, everything on, and you're just playing Call of Duty. Just to be us. But yeah, I get it. Like, have karaoke events, have Xbox events, have bike events, have car events, because not everybody has the same, I want to sit in the quiet and drink and listen to music. Like, sitting in the dark is not great for your mental health. It's not. Alcohol is very numbing. It's not great for your mental health, but if it's your coping tool, I understand that. But let's get you some healthier coping tools too. I'm not saying drinking is bad on its own. It's not. If you can have moderation and control drinking, you can have it. It's the same with anything. You have to have control. But a lot of us weren't taught control. Don't understand that a lot of the Marines from my generation that I watched in the barracks, it was I drink until I pass out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that transcended everything. But what I'm terrified for is I'm getting to be old Corps veteran because I don't know how to talk to these kids about drone warfare. And that probably wasn't a thing when you were in, that you had to worry about a drone that can go 30, 40 miles an hour with an explosive and wipe your whole squad off the face of the map before you even have time to react.
No, but I got to say, because I'm doing this show, which I'm grateful for,
Yeah.
I've had over 1,300 interviews, and I've interviewed some of the drone pilots, and I've interviewed like Scott Mann. He was one of the best pilots ever, and how those guys are dealing with stuff that we don't know that they're dealing with. They're dealing with PTSD, even though they're never seeing faces of people they've taken out.
Oh, yeah.
So
And
that's stuff that nobody talks about, that
oh,
they're
yeah.
going to be coming back, and you're going to be hearing about more people joining the 22. And people say, oh, they were just a drone, a pilot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And like I've heard that too from like pilots, like my brother-in-law. He is a combat pilot. Like he does bombing runs. That's what he did. And he sits there and he, like a couple of his buddies have talked with me, and they're haunted going, I have no idea how many people have ended their existence. It was a push of a button and an entire grid square was gone.
Like, and like as we talked earlier, we're not getting political on this show. I don't do that. Yeah. But just last night or yesterday, I know the military took out a boat in Venezuela, killing 12 people. And my first thought was, oh my God, that pilot.
Yeah.
You know, how he's going to deal with that, once everything, all the hua and everything gets done with, he's going to have to go home, or he or her is going to have to home and deal with that, knowing that 20 years later, I took out 12 lives. Where everybody else I'm seeing on all these other channels are, woo, yeah, you took out drug runners. Well, no, those are 12 people. Yeah. So, and I think we need to talk about that, because I know a lot of people, we don't talk about the pilots. We don't talk about the drone pilots.
We don't talk about artillery either.
Or dispatchers, 911 dispatchers. We don't talk about them either.
See, here's the weirdest insight for PTSD I can give people. If you ever considered doing what I do and talking to people that are wildly suicidal, don't want to live anymore, let me give you a real eye-opener for what I deal with every time I pick up that phone. I have nightmares about guns clicking on and off of safeties, with people crying in the background, saying things from God will forgive me, or I don't need to be here anymore. It should have been, they should have lived, not me. I got to hear ropes creaking, chains creaking, traffic flying underfoot from people standing on bridges, cops coming through doors to disarm people that are armed and ready to fight their way to the death out. It is not for the faint of heart. And it will scar you. It will leave horrible impressions, and it's even worse when you know them.
So then how do you take care of your own mental health?
So one of the things I do is, like I told you before, we sit and we talk with our team. Our team has different support chats for different walks of life. We have, Thunderdome for people that can't get along, and we have, just the very disgruntled personalities that can't really be PG, but it gives them a place to sit and talk and just chest beat and have that social support on their level, where they're not sitting there going, I have to mince words to have these conversations. We have a general group where everybody can share, these are my kids, this is what's going on in my life, because some people don't have that. Some of us, when we got home, felt so disconnected. I don't know about you, but when I got home, I felt like my entire world that I left did not understand me anymore.
Yeah.
Like they were looking at me like I was that kid from high school that would just make jokes, have a goofy smile, and show up at 3:00 in the morning if you needed me. Well, now I'm that person that if I show up at 3:00 in the morning, I'm kicking your front door in because you needed me. And that's a very different, it's the same thing, but it's very different. and I felt isolated by it. And so I developed it this way to take care of myself. One, I have to be completely honest about things that are hurting me. Like, I've started doing, I didn't have great tools to teach me how to deal with emotions like a lot of guys that grew up. I had the tough parental figures where men don't cry, men don't show emotions, you are either happy or quiet. So I wasn't taught to deal with sad. I wasn't taught to deal with angry, hurt, depression, frustration, sadness, nothing, because I didn't have those. I was given a mask from a very young age. So now I have to look past up. When I get angry, I have to stop and go, okay, why am I angry? And anger is always that first emotion. So what? I'm not actually angry. What am I? I'm hurt. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I feel like my trust has been broken. You have to see those deeper layers of all of this and be able to process it. Like how I get through the day when I have these rough calls, honestly, I can run 1,000 calls in a row where, it could go the distance and we need law enforcement and a Baker Act or a 502 form or medical hold form or family to sign off. And it depends on the state which one you have to do. So you have to keep up with all of that, how legislature and laws change. Like a year ago, Texas changed it. So if you get brought in for a mental health hold, it's 12 hours. That's it. 12 hours. Enough time to sober you up to see if it's drug related. That's it. And they release you if they don't find a reason to hold you after those 12 hours. That's terrifying. Because 12 hours isn't really a lot of time. I agree with 72 hours for this. In 12 hours, you're going to start to relax. Sure, you'll be sober. But you know what happens at 24? If you're a severe addict, you start going through DTs, right?
Yep.
So it gives you that reality check. But it's a safe reality check where you can get medical intervention. You can get help. If you want to get sober, but you have all these bad people around you pushing, hey, take these drugs, you'll feel better. Hey, take these drinks, you'll feel better. You don't feel better long term. You feel worse. And you do more and more and more and more until it's too late. But in that 72 hours, not only do you get a chance to not have the external world stimuli because you're cut off, right? But you know what a lot of people get for the first time in a long time? Sleep. Because they don't have to work. They can't do anything about anything. After that 24 hours, you get to the point mentally where you're like, okay, reset. 72 hours is a crazy reset because 3 days, you can't worry about your job because you can't go to it. You can't do anything about anybody outside. So you can sit and wonder about all these what ifs, but eventually you run out of what ifs. What ifs are drops in a bucket. Eventually you fill your bucket and boil over, and sure, you can have a panic attack about it, or you understand my bucket's full and none of it is helping me.
Well, one of the things that the military does, and it can be positive or it can be negative, we're taught how to compartmentalize.
Exactly.
Like, I can be the best father, the best husband, the best friend, but I can also be that beast when I have to be. If I got to start breaking necks, I'm going to be able to do that. But I have to be able to compartmentalize it. And I think a lot of us, we're like, okay, I'm dealing with this. I'll deal with this later. And I'm going to put it in a room and I'll lock up the door and I'll get back to that later. So how do you get back to opening up those doors and helping uncompartmentalize some of the stuff?
So yeah, we are get taught violently to compartmentalize because again, it's that masking behavior of no, I'm not. So to go back to it, one of the biggest things is you have to lose that fear of dealing with the deeper emotion. Like let's unpack the most common thing that we have. Grief. Just like you talked about, you have an article coming out tomorrow. Grief. Yep. Grief and death and grief and leaving the military is the same thing psychologically because it is a death. It is the death of a known life to you. You are now leaving. You're not doing the same thing as everybody else every day. You are not putting on the same uniform every day. You are not going to the same place every day. You are not with the same people every day. So you have lost an organized structure and a life that you were accustomed to be thrown out and you have to deal with grief. Most people put it away because, I don't know how to deal with this sad.
Yeah.
So we go back and we look at it now. And so how do we deal with that grief? Okay. I was isolated from my friends in the military. So how do we deal with that? All right. Well, let's reach out to them. Hey, do you still want to talk? Do you still want to? Okay, you don't want to talk or you do want to talk? All right. And we continue those bonds, right? It doesn't have to be with just people you served. It's relearning to make those connections. So it's going back and dealing with it again in a new way. We obviously can't go back to, Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Egypt, the Horn of Africa, wherever you may have been. You can't go back and change what happened in those moments. But you can take a look at those moments and find out what hurts most in that memory. Like if you were in a combat scene and you had to pull the trigger, you need to understand and look at that. And most people are like, I took a life. You're right. But would he have taken yours? Would she have taken yours? You are here. Are other people alive because of your actions? Yes. Are other people alive or not alive because of your actions? Could be yes. But you need to be able to look at the entirety of the situation and not just go, well, I did what I had to do. It's more than that. It's I had to do something to survive. It's not I did what I had to do. I had to. I had to survive. Most people will never know what it's like to be put in a situation where if you don't do something, you are going to die. And that is a cold, hard fact. So how do we process through it? Understand that you are still here. Survivor's guilt is one of the hardest things that I will ever teach you to process through. So you talk about it. You talk about all the feelings for it. And understand that anger, sadness, scared, anxiety, all of those surface level. So let's look at it. A prime example from most of our life when we like the grief of getting out. So how do we go back and process it? Understand that I was in a job. I don't have that job anymore. I had a family. I don't have that family anymore. But they taught you tools. So let's look at that memory from a different standpoint. You went in the military. When you got in a new unit and somebody new came to your unit, what was your reaction?
I was the guy because I was a happy-go-lucky guy. I was the guy. I was like the puppy dog. I was like, "Hey, let me show you around. Let me take you out for lunch. Let's go grab a beer after this." So I was the guy that would actually make sure that you felt comfortable your first day.
Okay. Now, how were you when you got out and when you moved back home?
Oh, I was probably the most miserable person you'll ever meet
So
because
what changed?
I didn't get out on my terms.
Right?
I got hurt on duty, so I was very angry.
Right. So you were angry because your situation changed involuntarily, right?
Yep,
Did that anger help you?
not at all.
But if you had been that puppy dog person, you would have had more people around you, right?
Yep.
But now we're getting into what ifs. So how do we divert that away? Well, we look at it as, yeah, if I had been that same puppy dog person mentality, I might have had more people around me, or I might have had wrong people around me. If you just look at everything with rose-colored glasses, of course everything's going to look pink and pretty. But if you look at it for what it is, I was doing the best I could. I was angry, like you said, right? But it was more than angry. You were hurt because you felt unwanted by the military. You felt like everything you had done meant nothing for them, right? And that's grief. That's hurt. That's not anger. You were sad. And teaching people to look at all of this and look at it from every different perspective, that's how you help people. That's what therapy is meant to be. And I honestly have one of the worst business models on the planet, and I don't even care. I want my business to be so good, nobody calls me ever again. And that is a horrible business model, but it's what I want. I want everyone to be so open and able to talk about things like this and be able to go, hey, I get it. You may not be a hugger. I may not be a hugger, but if you need a hug, I'll give you a hug. Like, we were so close when we were in. Getting back to that when we're out shouldn't be as hard as it is.
No, and it's funny because like I'll see some guys I served with, and we'll give big hugs and be like, "Hey, what's up, fuckface?" And it's just that loving, that caring, that I may not even know your first name, but I knew you by your last name, and that was good enough. You know what I
Right?
mean? And I think we meant that. Just saying, "Hey, Kaufman. Hey, what's up, Smitty?" You
Right.
had that love, that, you know what I mean?
Right. And we all have those weird stories from when we were in, like, the guy you sent to clearly, way too inebriated and sent them over to do something incredibly stupid. And they're like, okay, bet we'll do it for $20. It's just that immature, like, childishness that helps a lot of us, because we realized after we got out, we had to be adults. And that's the scariest thing in the world. Just 1 second. Sorry, my son was trying to come into the office. He wanted
No,
to.
that's awesome. That's what I love. So, all right. So, let's talk about Wgy6. Tell us what you're doing, what you got going on.
Okay. So Wgy6 Crisis Squad is an intervention-based nonprofit. And what we do is, if somebody is making comments of, I'm not mentally doing well, or all the way up to, I'm wildly suicidal with a firearm, we will reach out, and we have different procedures that happen for every single individual. Law enforcement is a last resort, and there's a reason for that. 1, we don't know their training level. 2, we don't know if we're sending a veteran. 3, we have no idea what their caseloads are like, right? It's a last resort, because most of us veterans are going to understand what other veterans are going through way more than just Joe Schmo down the street.
Yeah.
So how do we do this? Well, we do the reach outs first. If you're making a post, we're going to comment on the post. We're going to message you. And if we're not getting responses there and you're not responding anymore, you have now escalated to tier 2. We are now going to start polling your comment interactions. We're going to start talking to the people you talk to, because 1, that's going to tell us, hey, are you talking to anybody right now? Or are you isolating? And if you're pulling in deeper and isolating, that means you are not doing great.
Yeah.
Or worse than what you're letting off. Because a lot of us, even if we are saying, hey, I'm not doing great, we're hiding a lot of what we're feeling. And I want that to end, because honestly, I'm tired of getting those calls. I'm tired of getting, hey, you need to sit down. I know you're tired of it too.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst phone calls you can get. And the fact that you can sit there and go, or people sit there and go, I want to help right after it. And it's a knee-jerk reaction. Everybody gets, and I appreciate those sentiments, but it's a knee-jerk reaction. Like, a lot of it I see people do out of guilt. But Wgy6, it's one of those, if you want to help, great. If you're able to sit and do these things and go through the training, great. But you know what else? Not everybody has to run into a burning building. Look at firefighters. You have people that go inside to fight the blaze directly, right? Then you have people outside. What are they doing? Manning pumps, getting water, seeing things that the rest of the team can't see, right?
Yeah.
Same with the fire team. You send people in, you have another squad outside. Why? Because you don't want your back uncovered, right? That's why you never work alone as a military unit. So we have the people that are going in striking. We have supply in the background. So the supply for us is, this is intel. They drive this kind of car. They have kids. They don't have kids. They have a spouse. This is their general area. They're collecting all that intelligence for us. And then supply gives it to the people that are able to look at that intelligence and go, this is what's important to hand to the operator that's sitting there talking to these people. Because cold talking to somebody who is wildly suicidal is one of the stupidest things you can do. And I say that with much love. But if I walked into a conversation with you not knowing that you had just lost kids, and I'd been like, and I saw pictures on your social media and said, well, you have your kids to live for, that's not going to go over well.
Yeah.
All this is happening in seconds. In less than 5 minutes, most of the time, is how fast we can track down and get people help that are on the worst case scenario spectrums, where everything got taken out of our hands. And that is a scary world we live in. And I'm glad that we have that availability now because of social media. But it's also because of social media A lot of people don't want to talk because everything gets taken back to them. So that's why we reach out in private and go, hey, are you good? But we'll push you in public so you can't hide. You got to talk to somebody, whether it's us, a psychologist, people you served with. And by us reaching out to people that know you, they're going to go, hey, are you okay? Because when I was at my worst, I wasn't talking to people around me. I had to be that rock, that wall, right? That anchor. And I love hearing that from people. And it's one of the first things I teach when you come into my chats or I talk to you. You want to be the anchor, right? You want to be what holds everybody together, right? What does an anchor do? It gets sucked to the bottom and sits in the dark, the cold, by itself on the bottom. Does that sound like a healthy coping tool? You want to be a rock, right? You are the stone. You are the foundation, right? I've done construction for a lot of my life. You know what happens with foundations that get wet all the time? That have improper bracing or bad support? They crack. They break. You put rock and you have water running against it constantly. Let's take that water and call it stress. The Grand Canyon is one of the best examples of water eroding rock. Constant stress and pressure creates massive change. If you aren't dealing with your depression, if you aren't dealing with your anxiety, if you aren't dealing with your PTSD, I don't care how big of a rock you think you are, you will get worn down. So do you want to stay a big rock to be able to build a wall and protect people around you with supports? Because every wall has supports. Everyone. It is built with structural support. That's talking to people. That's, it may be psychiatric medications. It may be therapy. It may be going to an NA or AA group. It may be talking with us. But everything has a support structure. You want to be the big rock in the wall that has a support structure so you can stay up forever? We want to give it to you. But if you want to sit solo and not ask for help, eventually that big rock you are is going to be a small pebble that's able to be carried off by a toddler. You're not so big and mighty anymore, are you?
So then how do we get in touch with Wgy6?
So we have a Facebook page. I gave you the link. We'll put it up, but we are Wgy6 Crisis Squad. Just like this, look for this logo. It's got 2.2K on the page itself. We have another page that we were trying to do public posting for a while, but it just became way too chaotic because, if you're posting about mental health, we were getting shut down weekly by Facebook at that point because of all the posts like that.
Yeah.
So we had to take it to message the page. Find me. I don't hide myself. My name is Sean Becker. You can find my picture. I don't hide who I am. Look for the panda. And I don't hide myself for this very reason. Yeah, I give my ops handles to be able to talk on pages so they can talk privately because they may not want their stuff going out everywhere. And I get that. But here's the reason I don't hide myself. I don't have anything to hide. And if you're mad enough you want to come find me, front door's open. If you're still mad enough when you get to me about getting you help, we can have an entirely different conversation. But it'll be just like back in the military. We'll go to the tree line. We'll drop brasses. We'll have a fight. But you know what? In the end of it, we're going to be friends.
Yeah, we'll hug it out.
Exactly.
We'll just hug it out. My brother, I just want to say I'm so grateful and humbled that we finally got a chance to get together and chat. I think this is going to help a lot of people out, and hopefully that veterans supporting veterans, and Wgy6 collaborate.
I'd love to sit and talk with them more. Like I'd love to be able to sit and have these conversations because I feel like it's become so taboo, and I don't understand why. Like I posted on my social media. Here's a good one. I posted on my social media a social experiment today or yesterday night, and it was, if you have a family member buying you an article of clothing, what is the price limit to you? Because we all are told, hey, this is what's normal in society, right? But I want to challenge that. And just that one post, I have seen $20, $50, $150. I wouldn't take it because I don't trust these people. Well, now I've already proven that the societal norm of, $50 isn't the reality. Or how I grew up, where I grew up broke, $20 was a lot of money in the 90s. Yeah. It really was. So you keep $20 on you to pay for a meal and a way to get home. $20 is a lot for an article of clothing, a lot for a gift. And it's changed because, money is different now.
Yeah.
But look at mental health the same way. We used to put people that were unwell in sanatoriums and use them as science experiments in the 40s and 50s. Like, it was a thing. But now we are getting away from giving them those psych institutions, and we're noticing that a lot more psychiatric cases are ending up in jails because it's the only time they're getting medication, they're getting consistent, they get their lives together, they're put back on the streets, they have no medical care. And it's a big thing with the military too. Like when you were getting out with SEPs and TAPs, did they tell you to get involved with the VA or how to start that paperwork at all?
I didn't know anything about the VA before when I got out until
Neither.
the day that they medically discharged me, and then I was like, "Oh shit, I don't have any paperwork."
Right? And you getting medical discharge, you didn't have a doctor to go see to continue your medical treatments.
No.
You didn't have the setup for insurance. You didn't even, like most of us, we were 17, 18, 19 when we got in. You think we knew how to look for insurance?
Yeah.
No. So, like, SEPs and TAPs is dropping the ball there. And that's another thing we want to be at. We want to be able to start talking to these people before they get out so we can get you set up with the VA so you can have psychiatric continued care. That's one of the biggest things that it should be. These units, instead of burying it of this person's psychiatric health, so we're going to put them in a billet and they're getting processed out. Why aren't we going, hey, part of your process out, if you have something consistent that needs care like that, this is how you enroll in the VA. Get that started, because 6 months is what they told me the first time I enrolled in the VA was how long I was going to have to wait to continue psych care. 6 months. When does SEPs and TAPs start? About 5-6 months before you get out. That's the perfect timeline to start rolling people into continuative care, but we're not doing it. But 3 years ago, we sat and we had a few lawyers and a few people sit in front of the Army Corps of Medical Professionals and the Army Corps of Medicine. And right there, they told us it's not a problem. We do not have a suicide problem or a mental health problem in the military. And the only thing I can say to that at this point is, if it wasn't a problem, where are all my friends?
Yep. And we just got to be there for one another and be willing to have an ear, have a shoulder to cry on, have a shoulder to listen, and be there for one another. And I'm grateful that God put us together so we're able to help more people than any VA would be able to help.
Exactly. And I'm great to be out there. I'm grateful for every like on the page. I'm grateful for every person I get to meet doing this. And I've met some pretty great people that wouldn't be here otherwise. And one of the best things I can tell you is it's okay to be broken. It's okay to not be okay. You don't have to be completely put together, because how many times did we put things back together in the military and have extra parts and it worked just fine?
Yep. And I tell everybody, broken crayons still draw beautiful pictures.
Exactly. Just because, like, one of the best examples, in early Japanese culture, if a piece of pottery broke, they used gold to repair it, to show you that something broken can be beautiful. I came into one of the most broken things in my life when I tried to end my own life. And now look at what I've made. Over 15,000 people are still here because we talked to them. Over 15,000 people have led on stories, have gone on to get married, have kids. How many more Christmases are out there that people had with their family because they talked? How many more birthdays? How many more beautiful parts of life? Your story isn't over just because you want it to be over. This is just another, I don't want to say character development, because that's just awful to have to call character development, but this is just hardship. Let's get you past the hardship to writing more beautiful parts of your story.
I love it. So guys, make sure you check it. You check out their Facebook page. Get in touch with my brother. As you guys know, I just want to say thank you, Celsius, for keeping me energized for today. Join our Facebook group, Veterans Supporting Veterans. And I end the show every day with saying, every morning we wake up, we have a choice. We can become a victim or we can be a victor. And if you listen to this show, you're no longer victims of your past. You're a victor of your present and your future. Thank you guys for always showing up. I love you guys. And remember that vertical momentum, the only way to go is up. I love you guys. Panda, my brother, it was a pleasure talking to you. Have an amazing week.
You too, sir.